It was giving me passions flashbacks, and that is not a good thing. Good evening, fellow Beyond the Gates viewers. Here to talk about today's Friday episode for anyone that was able to actually make it through today's episode. You know, just when I think we've had the most fillerest of Fridays, they tend to somehow come up with the concept to make it even more of a filler Friday. I don't know what this show's obsession is with having weak Friday episodes that don't have a lot of meat to the stories. Just seems like a waste of time. Total filler. Well, today they topped it off. They topped it all in the past. Topped every filler Friday with these fantasies of Dani and Andre's that didn't really add anything to the story whatsoever. As I talked about during the watch along, it was giving me passions flashbacks, and that is not a good thing. So it started with Andre having a mysterious phone call, and this was in the preview for last week when Dani says that Andre could have a major secret. Dani joked that Andre could even be like a secret agent, and that led to them telling stories of these daydream scenes that we got. One was like in the 70s where Dani and Andre had their 70s afros, and at one point Andre was like Patch from Days of Our Lives with an eye patch on his face. It was a whole WTF moment, but that wasn't the only daydream today. Then they had another one about how Dani was a waitress, a plain old waitress, and Andre was a rich man trying to win her love. I don't know what we did to deserve those scenes today, but that's what they had for us. But as I said in the watch along, to me, this is the biggest evidence yet that the head writers are lost and not very good at their jobs. Ever since Tracy Thompson became co-head writer with Michelle Valjean, these storylines absolutely suck. And the fact that they don't have any meaty storyline for Dani and Andre, one of their only successful pairings in the first year of this show, it is a travesty, but most importantly, it is evidence of how bad the writing has fallen on this show. Sadly, that was a waste of our time with these flashbacks instead of actually giving a storyline for Dani and Andre. Now, the end of the show, I guess, was still supposed to be Andre's mysterious secret that he might have. They, of course, ended up in bed together like always, and Dani wanted to know what his mysterious phone call was. Andre said he has a new commercial shoot for a K-pop group, and Andre wants Dani to come with him this time. This is, I guess, to explain why Andre is always out of town. Maybe him being out of town all the time will lead to his secret. But God knows when Andre's secret will actually come out. I don't think it's going to come out until the show decides to finally end the Bill and Haley storyline. But they are stretching that out. They've stretched it out too long. They have lost all momentum with the only good storyline they had left. But that's the writing on the show these days. Naomi went to Martin's in hopes of seeing Smitty, but Smitty wasn't home because Smitty was with Jacob when Grayson barged into Jacob or Rashad's hotel room. And then when Smitty came out in the open, Grayson was holding on these scissors to him like he was going to attack Smitty with his paper cutting scissors. Grayson wanted to know who Smitty was, and he learned that Smitty is helping out with taking down this whole thing that's going on with the blood plasma. And Grayson is hoping that Smitty and Jacob are able to take it all down, but he's leaving town. Grayson wants to get his mom and leave town, but Jacob tells Grayson that if he leaves, he will arrest Grayson, so that stops Grayson from leaving. I thought Jacob was as annoying as ever with this undercover storyline today because Even though later in the episode, Grayson did finally call Jacob out on how ass of a job he's been doing, because Jacob was saying that he will protect Grayson if Grayson just gives him information, and Grayson rightfully called out how Jacob was not able to protect him from getting stabbed, although it's not like that stabbing mattered, because as we've established, Grayson is Wolverine from X-Men apparently and can just heal like that. Grayson did talk about how he doesn't exactly know who the Impaler is, but that he does have a name. Jacob got Grayson some protection and all of that. And then Grayson finally gave up the name, and that it is Leah Whitmore, the chief of staff at the hospital. So Smitty went home after all of that was happening. He wasn't there during this little sit down for Jacob and Grayson. Smitty went home to have dancing lessons with Martin, and also learned that Naomi was looking for him. But then Jacob called Smitty to let him know about the big name that he got, that it is the chief of staff that is involved with this whole ordeal. Leah, meanwhile, was at the hospital talking to Ren about being upset about the schedule these days for the pickups. And Leah was also kind of harassing Ashley in this episode, at one point trying to talk to Ashley about Grayson and learning that Grayson and Ashley broke up, which Leah texted Grayson and said that was smart of him to break up with Ashley. But at the end, Leah was talking on the phone with Ren about how she needs to close some loose ends, and she was looking at Ashley, who was talking to Chenise. I would love for this storyline to be the demise of Ashley. Maybe even though it's been so poorly written, it would actually mean something to me personally if they do kill off the terrible character that is Ashley. Ted was trying to talk to Shanice today. Shanice was also trying to get out of Ashley why she has such a sour face, and was wondering if it's about Grayson, which she did find out it was. Shanice is sour herself with Ted, and turned down Ted's offer to do something with Shanice later and have some alone time. And our resident big dumb clown Ted asked Shanice, "What's wrong?" As if Ted doesn't know what's wrong, that he took Leslie's side in an argument with Shanice. But anyway, later in the episode, when Shanice brought something to his office, he got her to stay and have a little chat with him. Ted denied that he had feelings for Leslie at first when Shanice was telling Ted that he has feelings for Leslie. Ted was saying that the only feeling he has for Leslie is the crushing regret that always reminds him of years ago. But Shanice called him out on him sleeping with Leslie again and how it seems like he's under Leslie's spell, which is exactly how it seems. The writing for this Ted stuff, and now Nicole, who we'll get to, is so asinine that it's like they give us nothing to root for in these relationships. Like, do they not understand that this is a soap opera and we are supposed to have things to root for? Like, especially when it comes to couples in a soap opera, we should have a reason to root for them together. But how can anyone root for any of these characters to get with Ted when he's a clown about everything? He deserves to be with Dana/Leslie at this point. But Shanice says that Ted will always be tied to Leslie because of Eva, and when Ted told her that she's the only woman he wants to be with, she asked him why their bed feels so crowded then. Later, Ted left a note for Shanice at the nurse's station because she needs to make a decision if she does want to go spend some time with him at some dinner later. I'm assuming Shanice is going to make the stupid choice of actually having that dinner with Ted, but that Ted and Shanice shit is no longer rootable, but neither is Nicole and Ted getting back together. Nicole and Carlton were continuing their date. This show continues to just write Carlton as a loser, because not only does it seem like Nicole enjoys spending time with Kyle more, especially in the bedroom, But this time, after they had a cameo from some Chef Anderson, for what reason, I don't know, Nicole and Carlton went to the bedroom for more of Nicole's sexcapades. But during the middle of it, instead of being with Carlton, Nicole was picturing Ted and at first pushed Carlton off of her. Her excuse was that she had a leg cramp. Then they did do the deed, but after Carlton left her bed, Nicole was daydreaming about Ted again. So I guess this is the show's way of telling us that after all of these sexcapades with Nicole, she still wants Ted. But once again, why should we root for that? I know there are people that want Ted and Nicole to get back together, but I would love to know why in the comments, because it ain't chemistry. This Ted and Nicole don't have this hot chemistry. They have friend chemistry. But more importantly, they had their little cute moment at the anniversary episode last week. But the episode before, Ted was saying that Leslie's a changed woman when she's not. And Leslie is the one that ruined his marriage to Nicole in the first place. So why would we root for Ted and Nicole to get back together when Ted is still in a trance with Leslie, just like Shanice called out, like he's under Leslie's spell for no reason, by the way. They haven't written a good reason why Ted is so dumb with Leslie. So anyway, it was a really bad Friday episode. I thought May Sweeps is not off to a good start on this show whatsoever. The Dani and Anjay daydreams alone was telling, in my opinion, about how bad the writing has fallen. Hopefully next week will be a better week, but I feel like I've been saying that for a couple of months now, and the writing has actually only gotten worse. So I'll be back Sunday, or try to be, to talk about the preview for next week. The preview didn't look that great to me. There were a couple of moments. We have a return from one of the characters, but I'm left like, why is this character returning? If any character should be returning to my screen, it should be Lynette, but obviously that's not happening.